he's dying, and he's like, hey, we got to move forward. And it stayed with me. Don't bitch about it. And so there was that mindset in my house. It's like, you don't bitch, you make things happen. You have a problem, find a solution. So adversity is actually one of those wonderful things. Until finally, what they realized was the fins weren't strong anymore because they were in, well, I think people like so focused on, I want to make my life as smooth sailing as possible. I never got, oh my God, you poor thing. I never got that. I never got that. And I think maybe it normalized adversity for me, who always kind of was like, push, move. Like, he was kind of like a beast. It's life, suck it up. The prime factor, I think, or the foundation to mental resilience is adversity. And I'm probably going, it's counterintuitive probably, because most people don't want adversity. They fight adversity. When they have adversity, they feel, why is this happening? I don't want this in my life. I want everything to go very smoothly, and I don't want to have any issues. However, adversity tends to be one of the foundations to creating mental resilience. When you face adversity over a consistent period of time, you know how to manage it, how to withstand it. It makes you stronger, it makes you more resilient. In fact, there was a study that was done on dolphins. And there were these dolphins that were in this indoor facility, some type of aquarium. And what they found with these dolphins is that their fins, a dolphin's fin is usually straight up, they started to kind of flop. And they brought in these scientists and they started looking at the dolphins, and they could not figure out why the fins were doing this drop. Normally the fins are very rigid and sturdy. They looked at the food, they looked at the water in the tank. They could not figure it out until finally what they realized was the fins weren't strong anymore because they were in a tank. And in the water tank that's isolated, there's no current, there's no pressure. It's not the ocean. And so the fins were never exposed for a long period of time. They were never exposed to the adversity of the ocean, which caused them to be strong. So adversity is actually one of those wonderful things.
How do you self-soothe so that you tell yourself this is actually good for me? Because most people, right, you want to run in the opposite direction.
Well, I think don't bitch about it. I think it's just sometimes it's like simple as it's, sometimes there's like no science, there's nothing really involved. Just don't bitch about it. Adversity is such a great thing to have throughout your life. Again, we don't want to put ourselves in chronic adversity where somebody is chronically doing something to us. That's not what I'm speaking about.
Correct.
I'm speaking about having difficulties throughout life, and that when you have them, understand that they help build your mental resilience. There was a study done where they looked at young people, youth, and they did a comparison between youth raised in inner cities, inside the city, which is typically rougher, versus a suburban area, youths that grew up in a suburban environment where it's super safe, parents really take care of the students, it's a much more coddled environment, protected environment. And what they found when they compared these two groups, that the children that were raised, the youths that were raised in an inner city environment actually ended up doing better later on in life. They had better resilience when they were faced with adversity. They actually were more successful in overcoming obstacles in their lives. Whereas this other group struggled quite a bit because they had less adversity. And so when you're facing something, find solace in that this is actually making you a better problem solver, number one, because when you're dealing with different problems, you become more efficient. You become almost like a little bit of a chess player and being, okay, I see this, let me see how I'm going to maneuver it. And you learn to withstand things when things happen. They're not all soul crushing.
Which normally then when something is soul crushing, it stops you from doing it again, progressing, trying again.
Well, I think people like so focused on, I want to make my life as smooth sailing as possible. That's never going to happen. No matter how much you try to control every variable in your life, it won't. But if you can just change your mindset to not think of adversity as a problem or as a negative thing, and to think of it as something that is helping you. Like if you think about the whole analogy with the dolphins, they lost that strength. Their fins didn't have that because they no longer had the current of the water, the pressure of the water to create resistance to make it stronger. If there's no resistance, and the example you gave about working out is exactly that. If there's no resistance, it's not going to come back bigger, better, and stronger.
How did you have that mental resilience in that moment where you're like, this resistance is going to make me stronger?
I think perhaps maybe I grew up with a lot of struggles, immigrant family, poor neighborhood. We lived in poor economic environment, government housing, rats, cockroaches. My father, though, was quite resilient and very much a fighter and a pushback. He never let me moan and bitch. And maybe that was it. My parents actually did not entertain it growing up. So I can't really say the Secret Service did this to me. My family there was no room for it. They also didn't grow up like that, because if they did, they'd starve. They would have never survived. And so there was that mindset in my house. It's like, you don't bitch, you make things happen. You have a problem, find a solution. I never got, oh my God, you poor thing. I never got that. I never got that. And I think maybe it normalized adversity for me, so that when it happened, it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to you. It was like, it's life, suck it up. That really maybe trained me and made me understand. So when things did come, I wasn't completely annihilated by them, perhaps. When things do happen, right, we want to be able to not, at least for me, I try not to stay in that place of sorrow and of pity and of feeling bad for myself, and try to, I guess, embrace, or maybe have a cup of coffee, as you say, with whatever bad is, or whatever negative thing is happening. And maybe not trying to see it as a negative thing, but as just something that's going to inevitably happen. I think I had shared this once before, but like I really did come from my parents, and especially my dad, who always kind of was like, push, move. Like, he was kind of like a beast. Like, he was always in beast mode. And I remember when he was dying of cancer. And I remember I was doing my best to maintain his treatment, but he had pancreatic cancer, which was extremely painful. And it just came to the point where we had hospice at home, but I couldn't manage it. I couldn't manage his pain. I couldn't do it. And he really needed to be hospitalized. And we finally, hospice came, the people that would come every day, and they're like, he has to go in. And there was this understanding that I knew that once he went in, he was never coming back. And I remember when it was happening, and I started to tear up. Meanwhile, he's dying. And he says to me, he like slaps me in the back of me. He says, yeah. And he says to me in Greek, he says, "Πώς θα κερδίσουμε τον πόλεμο άμα κάνεις έτσι?" Which translates to like, hey, how are we going to win the war if you act like this? And I was like, he's dying. And he's like, hey, we got to move forward. And it stayed with me. But he was always like that in his life. So I guess like, when you see that, and when you have examples of that in your life, I think that's key. And I think maybe being around people who deal with adversity well, right? If I'm around other people who don't manage it well, who avoid it, who maybe don't go into it, then I'm going to do the same thing. But if I'm around other brave people, strong people, people who see adversity as a challenge rather as like, oh my God, like knocking you down, then I'm going to manage it that way. Now it's your turn to talk.
Yeah, girl, that was so fucking beautiful. Thank you for being raw and honest. And I think it's important for people to see as well. I know you said you've never cried on camera before, but
I just feel like that's what we're doing here. It's not to pretend. Like, I'm not here to pretend and to be something I'm not, and I know you aren't either. We want to be honest and truthful and real, and that's what we're doing.
It literally, without meaning to, was the perfect example of you embracing adversity.
Yes, because I hate crying. It's like not me. It's not my space. It's just not. But you know, like it's my father. It's someone I loved. And it's one of the deepest, and if for someone who's lost someone they love, it's one of the deepest pains you can feel. Often I give that people the advice, I'm like, find that whatever you experience and see if you can. It's not for everybody, but maybe give back to that community of people. And now, one, you don't feel like you're alone. Because often when we go through something, we feel alone and isolated. You don't feel alone. There's a community there that exists. You can be part of that community. You embrace it, and then now you're helping others.